Here's the thing. Parents are always asking me the wrong questions about their kids' sleep problems. And if you're asking the wrong questions, you're never going to find any real solutions. So I'm going to take some questions that people have DM'd me over on Instagram to show you what I'm talking about. Because once you start asking the right questions, you can start making lasting change. After working for over 8 years as a certified sleep coach, I've heard it all when it comes to toddler sleep problems. And most of the time, parents are coming at the problem all wrong. So let's jump into our first question so I can show you what I'm talking about. My daughter keeps running out of her room at bedtime. She's never satisfied. She needs more water, more hugs. It can go on for an hour or longer. Help. Now, I see this question all the time. It doesn't seem like a bad question, right? I mean, the daughter is keeping herself up for sometimes hours when she should be asleep, so the parent really does need some help to figure this out. Now, while the question itself isn't bad, it's incomplete. And honestly, most questions come to me this way, totally one-sided, just reporting on the child's behavior. But what it's missing is actually the most important part of the story, how the parent is reacting. The truth is, you really can't control other people. And unfortunately, that applies to your kids too. But you can control yourself. So while you can't really make her stop doing something, you can control how you react to what she's doing. And here's the kicker. Your reaction is why she's doing it in the first place. So what's the whole story here? What's the piece of the story that we're missing? So if I had to guess, because 9 times out of 10, this is what it looks like in most people's houses, if a child is exiting the room after bedtime and asking for more things, maybe the parent is giving in a couple times, just kind of hoping this ends quickly. Okay, here's some more water. Okay, come give me one more hug. Maybe walking him back and tucking him in. But, as this keeps happening, parents get frustrated, as we do. Maybe there's some raised voices. Maybe there's some tears. Maybe there's some threats about, not being able to do something fun the next day. And then maybe eventually, after enough time passes, a parent just ends up sitting in the room while the child falls asleep. Now that we see the whole story here, we can see that she's getting a ton of attention for all of these bad bedtime behaviors, even if some of it is in the form of negative attention with frustrated parents. And she's getting to stay up much later, and she may even be getting kind of the ultimate goal of having a parent sleep with her or stay in the room with her. And over time, she starts to realize, okay, I've got to go through all of this stuff. It just becomes a habit. I've got to run out of my room 10 times and mom and dad have to yell at me. And then finally, they'll sit in the room with me while I fall asleep. So I encourage you to take a step back and look at the sleep challenges that you're facing in your house. Now that you know that you got to look at the whole story, right? You've got to look at the role that the child plays, but also the very important role that the parent plays. Okay, here is another question that I got on Instagram, and I see this variation of this question all the time. How do you deal with night wake-ups and get them back to bed without crying or tantrums? Now, this seems like a logical question, right? I mean, it's a question that you may have asked yourself before too. But the answer to this question is looking for a Band-Aid, not a cure. Okay, so stick with me for this analogy here. So what if your child was playing outside and then he runs inside and he's got a little cut on his finger? So you give him a Band-Aid and you send him back out. Well, he comes in again with another cut on his finger. You Band-Aid it up, send him back out. Well, then he comes back again with a cut on his finger. You give him another Band-Aid. But you never go outside to figure out why he's cutting himself in the first place. That would be crazy, right? Eventually you would be like, what's going on outside? Let me go see why he keeps cutting his finger. That's because the cut is just a symptom of the problem, right? The root problem for what's going on here is that he's playing catch with a cactus, or he's climbing a dead tree or something. So this question, how do you deal with night wake-ups and get him back to bed without crying or tantrums? That's just asking for a Band-Aid. I mean, you can Google that and you'll read, use a mantra when you walk them back to bed and don't engage too much. And that's great, but that's the equivalent of just putting a Band-Aid on it and sending him back outside. Now, what you should be asking is, why the hell is he waking up in the first place? Now, that is a good question. Just like going outside and removing the dangerous object would be the right move if he keeps getting cuts. Asking the right questions can help you solve the problem, not just put a Band-Aid on it for the moment. So for the answer to the question, why the hell does he keep waking up? Check out this video.